The adventure of the season is about to begin. This summer, catch the Hawk.
That's gotta hurt.
Bruce Willis, Danny Aiello, Andy McDowell, Hudson Hawk.
This is not what you think. Well, maybe it is.
This film has not yet been rated. Starts Friday, May 24th.
Would you like to swing on a star, carry moonbeams home in a jar, and be better off than you are? Or would you rather host a podcast? That's right. This is Cinema Arcade, the podcast about movies, video games, and the sparks that fly when those worlds collide. My name is Master Cat Burglar Steve Guntley, and who is joining me here today to talk about the 1991 film Hudson Hawk?
I'm a hostage.
Just emotionally a hostage to this movie.
I think I'm also a hostage. I think we're both hostages here. I think Steve is the only one who's actually a part of the hero group.
No. Well, that's J-Man. Welcome, J-Man. Who else is here with us today?
Justin.
All right, welcome. Welcome, everyone. That's right. We are talking about the 1991 film Hudson Hawk, a movie that none of us have ever seen until now. Movies that I don't think any of us knew
Steve.
what to expect. This is definitely a movie I was aware of as like a video store kid who would like wander around and read all the boxes, but I never really knew what this was.
Blissfully unaware of this.
Yeah, me
So
existence.
you never heard of this at all?
No, I had never heard of this, and I felt like I was like I've watched a lot of Bruce Willis in
Yeah.
my life.
Yeah.
Of varying qualities, and I had never heard of this film, and now I know why.
Yeah, it is a wild time. It's something I've always been curious about. I think going into it, I knew it was about a thief, and I knew it was kind of like an action comedy. I didn't really know to the extent of what a crazy, bizarre mess that this movie is.
Do you think this movie was sponsored by cocaine?
I think this movie was at least co-produced by cocaine. Yeah, well, Joel Silver, yeah, a.k.a. cocaine.
But it doesn't, I don't know, so the 80s has a whole host of cocaine-fueled movies, but they make sense. Like, Commando makes sense, you know what I mean?
And I can't comment on anyone's usage habits around this time. I know one of the screenwriters, Stephen E. D'Souza, who's the co-writer of Die Hard and the future director of Street Fighter. He's certainly been around a lot of that kind of behavior in his life. He's talked very candidly about it. I don't know about if Bruce Willis had a problem. I don't know if anybody else had a problem.
I was trying to make light of it. You brought it home to be
no, but I mean,
serious.
it really does feel like it's got that kind of 80s fueled energy to it.
So the director of this film has directed one of the great cult classics.
Yes.
Heathers,
yeah.
And so did the screenwriter, wrote Heathers, and somehow, what the hell is going on?
Well,
Heathers is such a great, tight, comedic, dark comedy story, and then this is just such a clusterfuck.
It is an absolute clusterfuck, and there are so many reasons that went into that. And let's get into it, because I found this. This is not to spoil kind of like my overarching opinions of it, but I think this is a movie that is more interesting behind the scenes than it is like with what we have finally got. But we'll get into it. Hudson Hawk was released May 24th, 1991, prime summer release. It was directed by Michael Lehman, written by Stephen E. D'Souza and Daniel Waters, and it stars Bruce Willis, Danny Aiello, Andy McDowell, Richard E. Grant, Sandra Bernhard, Donald Burton, Don Harvey, David Caruso, Andrew Briniarski, Luann Toussaint, Frank Stallone, and James Coburn. Yes, a truly strange and baffling. There's a term we used to use a lot back in the day that's kind of like gone by the wayside as like the age of major movie stars has kind of gone by the wayside, but that term is vanity project. This is very much a Bruce Willis vanity project. I'm always fascinated by the idea that like the concept of like a movie star, quote unquote, is not really the same thing now as it was in the 90s. There was a time when having Tom Cruise or Arnold Schwarzenegger or Julia Roberts like headlining your movie meant that people were going to go to that movie to see that star. Nowadays, it's more driven by IP. It's more driven by concepts.
Yeah, I can't think of who would be a movie star that actually has movie star power nowadays.
It's still Tom Cruise. Like there's still like a couple of the holdovers, but like
I think Tom Cruise is faded just due to like age and also other things
Maybe
around him.
Brad Pitt did drive the Formula One movie.
Brad Pitt's still in the
Yeah.
conversation. Yeah, but it's a lot of guys who are like, yeah.
What if Jared Leto?
Oh, yes. Let's put him in more movies. He's obviously a bona fide, minted box office star, beloved by millions. Yeah, no, but that's kind of the idea, right? Like we're at this place, like every once in a while you'll get like a Glenn Powell who's clearly being like groomed to be like a next like major leading man, but his arc is not the same as it would
even
be
know who
for
that
a movie
is.
star. Like,
You don't know who Glenn Powell is?
you
I
know
just
him if you see him.
absolutely walloped the microphone.
He is like an Austin guy. He's like around
Yeah,
all
like
the time.
I've seen him at an Austin Alamo screening of his.
You think I see people around Austin?
Well, I don't know. He's around.
like
He's
literally, I did. So that was like that's
Yeah, but you go to
reasonable.
movie things.
But all of that is to say that, like, when Bruce Willis became a movie star, it was a much clearer arc, right? And it was such a big deal when he sort of graduated into that A-list, right?
He
We
was
talked
in
about it.
Spy Kids 3D. I've seen that movie.
That's probably not his best known film, but yeah, he's in the Twister sequel that just came out. He's in Running Man, which is coming out this week. Like,
So far, we've gotten to
hope Running Man
2022, and I
does
haven't
well.
seen a movie.
I
Yeah,
hope it's good.
I have never seen a movie he's in except
I
for
just want
Spy
some
Kids.
movies to do well. I feel like I'm watching Frankenstein tonight, so I'm
Yeah.
hoping that'll like be like. But I'm just like, it feels like we're going through like a dead spot in cinema right now, and I'm just like, it's
Today,
I-
right, as of this recording, this weekend is the worst box office weekend all year, and one of the worst box office weekends of the last several years. And it's like that recently.
well, and it's not the fault of the people. It's the fault of the box office.
yeah,
because there's
people aren't
just-
going out. Yeah.
No, I mean it's like the movies aren't good. Like
Yeah, it's a, and we've touched on this a couple of times. At least I have. We're at it feels like an all-time low in high budget in creativity in high budget projects because they've been so like sanitized and corporatized that like they're trying to avoid anything that could detract or like maybe like any negatives, any risks.
What is your guys' opinion on kissy face movies nowadays?
On
Kissy face
what?
movies?
So the modern Gen Z thing, they don't like sex scenes or even kissy faces necessarily in films.
That's dumb. I know,
and
it's so
like
dumb.
and I find this so hard. Like growing up in like the 90s, like I'm just so used to like the erotic thrillers and like the other sort of but there's so much sanitization. Like, and I watch a lot of foreign films, which are like. There's a lot of like
They're less prurient
sensual
about it.
sensuality going on, but I'm just like I'm trying to think about like with the Marvel movies. There's like they're basically sexless dolls.
Yeah, there's like hints at romance, except for like Iron Man was the only one allowed to have romance because Iron Man came first, and then after that it's just like nobody in this movie dates.
Yeah.
Nobody in this universe is allowed to have a significant other that is more than just occasionally in scenes like with Jeremy Renner. That was like it.
That
And
being
so-
said, there is that, but at the same time, there is a contingent of movies like Shape of Water and Poor Things, and these are terrible movies that I just watched, but like Drive Away Dolls and Honey Don't, like they're very sexually graphic movies.
And
so like there is still a contingent of those coming out.
I think what we're seeing, and what I kind of mentioned before, it's like something that we're definitely seeing with video games, is that what in video games are referred to as like the AAA games are usually kind of boring, a little uninspired, and it's like the lower budget like AA games or like the A24 films and stuff. That level of budget are the ones that have the creativity to actually be better than just okay.
Well, it's that frustrating thing of like, if you want people to like come out and support your A24 movie, like you're kind of hoping for something like the Minecraft movie, which will be a massive, gigantic hit that'll kind of like float the box office for the rest of the year. You know, it's come to that point where we need like 4 or 5 like massive hit movies a year, which is kind of like what we're on track for in order to just sort of break even. Like,
yeah, and then those ones which used to be like, you know, award-winning, you know, good movies is now just kind of like low-calorie junk to a degree. Where like some of them are actually good, but most of them are, again, okay to good. They're not great. They're not fantastic. They're not hitting the same highs. And you have to go to like lower budget movies that unfortunately have less promotion. They have less marketing ability to actually hit those numbers in terms of like ticket sales because they just don't have enough awareness.
And it's one of those dumb things that like I'm always fascinated by. I'm always fascinated by box office, but ultimately it doesn't matter because like what matters is the movie exists, and like if I watch it and I like it, then it doesn't matter to me how much money it makes. You know, it just sort of puts this expectation on it. All that being said, if we travel back to 1991, this was the era when the movie star ruled the earth, when box office receipts were like, this was the best time in America to be a movie star in Hollywood. This is the most profitable time. This is the time when like you can just kind of coast off of it. Just missed it.
I missed my window.
And that's the high that Bruce Willis was riding at this time. So as a refresher for those who didn't hear our episode on Die Hard, he was a TV actor, best known for the show Moonlighting, which is wonderful and charming, but it's a light romantic comedy. And before Die Hard, he'd only done 2 like minor comedy movies that didn't really connect. And Die Hard made him a movie star in a very, very real way. He negotiated a movie star salary in order to be in the movie, just kind of on speculation that it was going to work. And then the movie was a huge hit, beloved by all. And all of a sudden, it's like, best you have arrived. Movie. Bruce Willis, you are here. And everything started coming up, Bruce, for a little bit there. Like his album that he released in 1987 became like a surprise hit on the charts, you know, because of his popularity. He was in the Look Who's Talking movies, which were huge hits. Like he was in Die Hard 2, which was also a huge hit. All these other films were like, things were really kind of ramping up for him. But he also had a couple of stumbles in there. Number one was 1990's Bonfire of the Vanities, a famous disaster of a movie. Have you seen Bonfire of the Vanities, either of you?
I don't know. I have to look it up real quick.
Really, it's an adaptation of the Tom Wolfe novel. Really poorly miscast Tom Hanks and Bruce Willis and Melanie Griffith in this really broad, like, lazy, weird adaptation. There's a great book. I believe it's just called The Devil's Candy.
15% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Oh, check out the book, The Devil's Candy, because it's like a whole behind the scenes like making of that movie and everything that went wrong. But all of that is to say that like
they lose with both Tom Hanks and Bruce Willis
because they cast Tom Hanks as like the heel. And this was 1990 Tom Hanks. He's fresh off of Big. He can't play a heel. Like, not at this time. Even now, I wouldn't say. He's too inherently lovable.
This is a movie that I have never placed in the timeline of the world. When was Forrest Gump?
94.
94? So it's pre-Forrest Gump.
So, yeah, Tom Hanks... We'll go into Tom Hanks at another time. But Tom Hanks' narrative is basically same thing. Like, Bonfire of the Vanities seen as a major low point. He'd had a couple of, like, movies that weren't really huge hits. And then he gets A League of Their Own, which is a supporting role that he gets top billed for, and that's a huge hit. And then he has back-to-back Oscar wins with Philadelphia and Forrest Gump, and then he's off to the races forever from that. But Bruce Willis was kind of at the same inflection point.
Even Tom Hanks, like in a film, doesn't drive a film anymore.
No, not anymore. He's like third billed or fourth billed in like the Phoenician Scheme. He's doing more like supporting roles, and then he'll pop up for Robert Zemeckis movies that nobody sees. Like, did you see Here? Mm-mm. Here is a dog shit movie, but it's a Robert Zemeckis reteaming with Tom Hanks and Robin Wright, and it should work and doesn't. But Bruce Willis in 1991, he still had that like movie star clout. He had kind of a famously huge ego, and he was not afraid to like throw his weight around a little bit. And he decided that it was time for him to make his own franchise. And so back in the 80s, before he became a TV star, he was a bartender working in New Jersey. And during that time, he made friends with a singer-songwriter named Robert Kraft. And the two of them, in between shifts and drinks, they would shoot the shit and they would talk about ideas for movies that they had. Robert Kraft had an idea for a guy called the Hudson Hawk, and that's the name for a stiff breeze that comes off of the Hudson. And their idea was basically like an anti-James Bond. They wanted a guy who has all the gadgets of James Bond, all kind of like the suaveness, the world, the globe trotting sort of nature, but he wanted him to be like a blue collar, like kind of sarcastic guy. And not afraid to like kind of get his hands dirty and remembers where he came from, all of that kind of stuff. So Bruce Willis pitched this idea to Joel Silver, who is the producer of Die Hard. Joel Silver immediately put $40 million into this movie, thinking this was going to be the next major hit. And they were off and running. They hired Michael Lehman to be the director. As you mentioned, he was a kind of cult filmmaker. He made Heathers in 1989, which was like this surprise sort of generational hit. Like a lot of people really love that movie. He followed it up with a very, very strange, like barely seen movie called Meet the Applegates, which is about a family of giant roaches pretending to be a suburban house, like a suburban family. Deeply strange movie. Check it out if you get a chance. But he'd never directed a major big budget Hollywood movie before. But they had the faith of the studio. They had the Bruce Willis's name attached to it. It was going to be a big deal. So they started attracting some top-tier talent. Among them, I have to shout out Danny Aiello, the Italian-American character actor who was fresh off an Oscar nomination for an incredible performance in Do the Right Thing. He played Sal, the pizzeria owner, in that. And he was cast to play Tommy's buddy / mentor, Tommy. And they talked to two different women to be the female lead. One of them was Dutch model Marushka Detmers, who was cast initially but dropped out due to illness. The other was Isabella Rossellini, who would have been great, but I think
that would have been a much better turn.
I think it would have been
Andie
turned.
McDowell, but she doesn't have the exoticism of being a nun. You know what I mean?
When you hear that this was going to be Isabella Rossellini, and then you see that it ended up with Andie McDowell, you have to wonder. No shade to Andie McDowell. They are the most different actresses you can imagine. They put off the exact opposite vibes. And with the reveal, spoiler alert here, the reveal that Andie McDowell's character is actually a secret agent nun working for the Vatican, I could see Rossellini doing that. I don't really buy like Georgia Peach, Andie McDowell, like being this kind of like secret agent nun for the Vatican. I just don't buy it at all. Not that there was ever a point where I was going to buy it, but I mean, there are actresses you could put in that role who could sell it.
So, we haven't even started getting into the weirdness of this movie.
No,
Andie
we have
McDowell talks to a talking crucifix multiple times in this movie.
At one point, it's so fucking funny because she is having dialogue with Bruce Willis's character, Hudson Hawk, and it's like they're like trying to build up romantic tension. I'm like not feeling the chemistry between the characters. She's like, oh, but I can't. And then like finally he leaves, and then they're like in a mail tunnel with like mail carts going by underneath the Vatican. And then she just like turns to like a statue of Jesus and starts talking to the statue, which is apparently like a actual like radio relay or something.
Yeah.
And it just like, he seems good, but he's bad or whatever, and I'm just like, what the fuck is this movie?
Yeah, if you're identifying just from us very briefly describing it, there's maybe a couple of tonal inconsistencies in this movie. Maybe one or two, and that's because there were no fewer than 80 drafts of this script that were worked on. All right, apparently production on this was a nightmare because the director says he was torn between the producers, between the studio, and between Bruce Willis, who had a lot of power over this. Anytime he had an idea, he wanted it put in the script, and then they would take it out of the script, and they would put it back in. It got to a point where, like, the plot that they had strung together out of these various, like, gags and jokes really didn't make any sense at all. And the budget started ballooning. All right, so this was already a $42 million movie, quite expensive for 1991. It landed in the $70 million range due to like production delays and all these different ideas. The alchemy machine, yes, there's an alchemy machine in this. That alone cost $1 million to make that set. Like, that's insane. And it's a good looking set, but already, like, word was getting out about how out of control this movie was. The media started calling this film Hudson the Duck because it seemed destined to be a massive box office bomb. And guess what? They were right. This movie came out with this huge wave of negative hype. I think it debuted number 4 at the box office. It was out of theaters after like 3 weeks. Against that $70 million budget, it made about 16. So this was a huge flop. This was pretty much like, this is the end of Bruce Willis's career. That was kind of like, people were just like realizing he way overshot it. because of this movie, he had to start taking like smaller roles in little independent films, which worked out well because that led to Nobody's Fool and it led to Pulp Fiction, and that kind of revitalized his career, and he found his path forward from that.
Well, it's so interesting. So when we we open in this movie, and we open on the workshop of Leonardo da Vinci.
Yes.
Oddly in Italy at this time.
Yeah, like we're already, if you're going to this movie knowing that this is and look, the studio, to their credit, well, not even to their credit, to like a very understandable level, they did not know how to market this movie, right? Because
How would you?
This is a comedy, action, sci-fi,
However,
musical.
they don't. It's like it's those things, but not all at the same time. It's
Right.
like we get some action, then we get some comedy.
No,
and then
I
it's like-
disagree. I think the reason why this movie doesn't work is it's all of the things at the same time. It's putting a hat, a scarf, lipstick, glasses, all on the same thing. Because like you have a scene, and the scene could work, but then they undermine the scene with jokes, with cuts to the audience, to like wackety Bruce Willis.
And then it'll be hyper violent, like,
Yeah.
or like a hard R-rated
they're,
language.
like-
You're like, yeah,
Yeah, like the hard R, like there's this whole thing where like, hey, why don't I R why don't I R him? I was
yeah.
like, what are you talking about, movie?
I
What are
literally-
you doing?
So I was watching an obtained copy because I didn't want to pay money for this, and my subtitles were
It's
a
on
little
Netflix.
behind.
Yeah.
And so I heard it and went, "Wait, what?" And then I turned, and then the subtitles came up, and I'm like, "What the fuck?"
Right. Yeah, it's one of those movies like, yeah, every couple of minutes you'll look down and it's just it can't decide if it wants to be like a wisecracking
And, like-
action movie or like a literal Bugs
Well,
Bunny
if
cartoon.
you think like, so you cut to something that works, like
Yeah.
the Pink Panther.
Sure.
The Pink Panther works because you have a funny character in like in straight situations, or a straight character in funny situations.
Right.
You don't have 18 different like characters being wildly like weird
Yeah.
in the same scene.
Everybody's ramped up.
introduce,
Yeah, everybody's ramped up.
Yeah, literally the most toned down character is
Maybe James Coburn or Tommy. Oh yeah, Danny Aiello's character.
yeah, and he is he's a goofball, but he's a believable goofball most of the time. Like, he seems like pretty realistic, but then like Bruce Willis's character sometimes will just be like really slapstick, and you're just like, whoa, that was weird. But then like literally every other fucking character is absurd.
They are.
Introduce like a crack CIA team that are all just the weirdest people that are also utterly incompetent.
And they're all named after candy bars.
They're all
Like,
named
yeah.
after candy bars.
And that's just exactly the thing. It's like that's
Which was a step up, because before that they were named after STIs. You know what? You don't want to be called chlamydia for a year.
That
Oh,
is
that's
a
right. That
joke
is a joke in
from
this
the
movie.
movie.
Literal joke from the movie.
Here's kind of the journey I was going on with this movie, because like I was just sort of letting it unfold. I'm going to say this: I never once found this movie boring. I was always surprised by what was happening next. But
There's a couple times I was bored, but yeah.
I never, I was always just kind of locked in and like trying to really wondering what kind of wild decision.
Did
they
you
were gonna
watch
make.
this in one sitting?
No, I didn't. No,
None of us watched this in one sitting. We all had to stop.
I started it late at night and got sleepy and then had to. Yeah, it wasn't boredom. It was like late night. But like my journey with this was like every couple of minutes I'd be like, oh, this is starting to be endearing. Like I'm starting to enjoy this like everything in the kitchen sink sort of approach to this movie. And then they would have like a joke or something that was such a clunker that it just like popped me right back out of it. Or they'd have a plot development or some kind of thing that was going to like take me right out of it.
So the plot it's so contrived. There's like so many different oppositions and bad guys, and there's just like if you want to do a Looney Tunes cartoon, do a Looney Tunes cartoon.
Yeah.
But Looney Tunes cartoons have craft behind them.
Yeah.
They have craft and storytelling, and they understand that you can only have like a couple of wacky characters. You can't have 9 wacky characters.
I will say this movie looks expensive.
Yeah.
They shot in the actual European locations. This is part of the reason the budget got so insane. But like they wanted it to. Yeah, keep in mind, like James Bond was in its longest hiatus at this point. Like we were in an era where we didn't
Craig,
know
but
if
post, yeah.
Yeah, it's between Dalton and Brosnan, and so we don't even know if there's ever going to be a Bond movie again. So he's trying to fill that
about the Brosnan movie
void,
somehow.
And so they want to like lean into this whole globe-trotting thing, and I don't think it necessarily adds too much. But
I just want to just to like lay out the general plot is Hudson Hawk gets out of prison for what we find out later is he basically got set up by the CIA to get caught.
Yes.
Which makes no fucking sense.
Which doesn't make sense because typically you don't want your people getting caught. You want them to just go away. And so he gets out of prison and he's immediately getting pressured by these mobsters and his parole agent to do a heist.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that they are being manipulated by the CIA, who it turns out is being manipulated and working for this rich guy who wants to rediscover alchemy and turn everything into gold.
To crash the economic system of the world.
Yeah, that's the whole driving force. Of course, the villains here are going to be Richard E. Grant and Sandra Bernhard. We've encountered Richard E. Grant a few times because he was the manager in Spice World, and he was the good guy in Warlock.
And as we mentioned, every single character except for Tommy and I've forgotten the girl's name.
Andy McDowell.
Yeah,
I know
remember
her
Heritage
real name, but what?
Yeah,
I guess is
Just
Tommy.
call her Andy McDowell.
Yeah, honestly. And so those two are the Anna. Those two are the most grounded characters, and they're still goofy. But everybody else is outright silly.
Yeah.
Like at first, I was playing a game of like. Because I didn't know anything about the background of this movie. It was like, does Bruce Willis know how absurd this movie's going to turn out? And at first, it's a little questionable.
Yeah.
But then eventually, it's like, no, he's fully in on this. He's fully committed to the slapstick, goofy silliness that is not playing super well. And every character is like consistently having absolute like cartoonish moments.
Yeah.
Every turn, the entire like CIA team are basically cartoon characters.
They are.
And you go through this whole movie, and it's like, and I saw later that like Bruce Willis kind of said that this was intended to be a little satirical. Does in no way land. In no single way does it seem satirical whatsoever. And I'm not a master of satire, but I like to think that I am at least decent at picking up on satire.
Yeah.
This is the only thing that could be satirical is the caricature of the villain.
Right.
And that's like
they're hyper rich people who literally want world domination, and it's nothing, but I think the thing that I came away with this, like, if this is a vanity project, if this is the project that's meant to like encapsulate Bruce Willis's persona and his interests and all this stuff, then I can only come away with it thinking that Bruce Willis is a major dork in a way that's like endearing in a lot of ways, because this is all about this is Bugs Bunny, this is Indiana Jones, and then this is like it's a musical on top of it. That's the big thing we should mention. Okay, they managed to shoehorn a musical in here because Hudson's like special power, the thing that makes him really good as a cat burglar, is that he has this encyclopedic knowledge of song lengths.
Which is crucial to cat burglary.
Exactly. They need to know. It's like,
to
okay.
what?
Cat burglary.
Okay.
You were doing the Scottish thing. I remember reading that like Scottish people can't say the word purple burglar just because of their accents. Like it's I don't know. It's Scottish people, prove me wrong. But yeah, it's so basically they're like, oh, I have 5 minutes and 33 seconds to finish this job before the alarm comes off. Okay, let's sing along with the song.
It's honestly pretty fun of an idea. It's far from the worst concept in this movie, and it like gives personality to the burglars.
Yeah.
If that was the silliest thing, it would probably be a good movie. And so it's like in between things, like Tommy is testing him by like giving song names, and like every once in a while Bruce Willis is like, which version, and then like giving the length, so like this showing this knowledge, like, this is something that he aims for. And then they sync up by songs, and then it's like at the end of the song is when we will be done, met together, or whatever.
But it also doesn't make sense in the context of the film, okay? Because
they're singing as they're robbing.
That's the thing. There's two things. There's two things.
Trying to silently rob. They are singing and dancing.
Yeah, the thing about being a cat burglar, specifically, which they identify him as a cat burglar multiple times in this movie, is being silent, is working under cover of night and being sneaky. It's not performing like robust two-man musical numbers as you're like doing kick lines throughout the museum and like rolling around.
Yeah.
Like it's... And plus, we just have to trust that they are singing. Like, "Swing on a Star" is a song that's been covered. It's from the Great American Songbook. It's been covered like 100 million times. Are we going to get it down to the exact second every single time? Which version are you performing? Like which? And wouldn't it just be easier to have a clock out so that you know that you and your buddy are singing the same version of the song? Like, what if he's ahead of you? Like, what if he's behind you?
Yeah, as somebody who is not musically trained in any way, shape, or form, but has identified that like I can sing in the shower along with the song with vocals fine.
Sure.
Once I hit karaoke, my pacing is not correct.
Look, it happens, and that's the thing. I wouldn't be picking at this idea if the whole movie was kind of on the same tone. If it was going for that whole whimsical thing.
The problem is like you had a couple of movies in this movie that could have worked.
Yeah.
There could have been a whimsical cat burglar movie.
Yeah.
There could have been in a globetrotting action movie.
Yeah.
There could have been a slapstick comedy. Like things like a fish called Wanda.
Sure.
I fucking love that movie. That movie works so fucking well. And it's definitely, but you have to have the writing behind these ideas to make them work.
Exactly.
And you definitely could see where the actors were probably like, oh, let's chew this. Like the ending where they have the guy come back to life.
Yeah.
Like he's just like, he's dead.
Yeah.
He's clearly died.
I will say that also is like, I found that to be also like this might be something that they were considered to be satirical because they're questioning him of like, how the fuck are you alive? And he's just like, there was airbags in the car, and then like it was on fire, and he's like, they had sprinklers in the car, and then Bruce Willis was like, yeah, that's probably what happened, whatever.
Yeah.
And then they just like celebrate and end the movie. And I was like, if that was the tone the whole way through, that would have been fun. Like you were saying, if any
still would have been
these-
too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If any of these things were something that they like sat on and just made that movie, it would have probably been more interesting or fun. But instead, like you said, they just kept putting layers of clothing on.
Yeah, well, and it's so much. So you see Bruce Willis in something like Die Hard, where his comedy works.
Yeah.
Because he's not cracking a joke every
even, like,
4
Fifth Element.
seconds, or Fifth Element.
Yeah.
Because he's definitely, you've got to have a bit of a straight man character to get away with some of these like one-liners that he does, but instead he physically acts like a Looney Tune character.
He like fully with like the like head movements and stuff.
Yeah.
Like it was so fucking wild. Just like, I mean, he was committed.
He was committed, absolutely. But it's like you said, like a fish called Wanda is able to kind of thread that needle because there's like a single vision going behind it, you know? And I think everybody's bringing their own version of this movie to the table and nobody's really agreeing on what it is, you know? So we get these moments of kind of like alarming violence where like a guy gets his neck slit or like his head cut off or like they bazooka a dog. Like you get these moments like that.
Dog.
And then the next moment they're hopping onto Da Vinci's old flying machine and they're hang gliding out of the castle while the magical alchemy machine explodes behind them. And then they land and they all do a big like wobbity spit take to the camera, and it just doesn't hang together at all. but it is such like a fascinating kind of endearing train wreck in a way that it's sort of become like a minor cult classic for some people. I don't know if I am on board with that, but yeah.
I feel like you are the one who likes this movie
Yeah, I think
so
we might
much
be.
more than me and Justin.
Definitely more than I don't say I like this movie,
I-
but I think I appreciate its bad shittedness a little bit more.
And I will say it does. It's like two things where it's like, okay, Bruce Willis was setting out to make a movie like this.
Yeah.
Which is fun and, whatever. It kind of paints that he wasn't taking himself too seriously. However, at the same time, it seems like some of the production issues were because he was taking everything too seriously.
Right.
And was maybe not being like a major ass, but like a little bit of an ass.
Yeah.
And so it's like, on one hand, it's like, okay, Bruce Willis, you silly guy.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, it's like, you were kind of a jerk too. But
Well, it's really interesting. The director went on to make a couple of films, but he definitely had a career in TV.
Yeah,
that was
mostly.
very successful. But it's definitely like I wonder whether or not he's like I'm just going to deal with TV because these movie stars are
Right.
a little
I,
hard to deal with.
I dove in a little bit near the end of this movie as I was watching it, just to figure out like, what did Bruce Willis expect out of this? What was Bruce Willis's like desires and stuff? And basically discovered that this is essentially the movie he wanted.
Yeah.
They have, I didn't watch the videos of it, but they did like an extended like special feature thing for a DVD re-release or something, where they did like a half-hour thing of like discussing the movie, but ultimately just ended up, it was Bruce Willis and Danny Aiello.
Yeah.
And they were mostly just hanging out, telling stories of their life.
Yeah.
And then Bruce Willis went into the like, had like a little snippet of like, this is satirical, people didn't get it, whatever, da 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 da. And I'm like, I don't know if that's correct. I think it was.
I definitely came away from this thinking like, yeah, no, look, Bruce Willis has like I knew it already. I've been living with it for years, but like he's got like a movie star kind of charisma to him. He's got a charm. He's got an energy. Even when I don't really like what the movie's trying to do, like he's bringing a considerable amount of charm to this role. And I think it doesn't feel like anybody's like struggling through this movie or just like, maybe it was like difficult behind the scenes, but like I don't feel like anybody is phoning it in. They could have stood to phone it in a little bit more.
Yeah. 'Cause I will say there were scenes, especially with Bruce Willis and Danny Aiello, where they seem to be having a good time.
Sure.
They seem to be having fun. There's a lot of times where like they definitely have like some chemistry together of like just like fucking around and having a good time.
They're singing songs and shooting rockets at a castle and like doing stuff like that. Like,
honestly,
yeah.
once we hit that part of the movie, I was just like, you know what, whatever. I'm here for this. Let's blow up this castle.
I mean, but then you get stuff like Andy McDowell being all bonked on the head and like making dolphin noises and like
Yeah.
Oh my god!
all this really cringy stuff.
What's going on?
Like it's so broad. It is
And-
just so incredibly
it's
broad.
like, so like they basically they capture her, and the intent is like they've gotten the artifacts together. They just
Yeah.
need her to assemble it, and she then just starts talking about and behaving like a dolphin.
Yeah.
And I think it was supposed to be an act.
Yeah.
Because she dropped it pretty quick when Bruce Willis showed up, but also it was just so fucking weird.
It was just very
It's called
strange.
stupid.
And then
It was, yeah. It
and
was.
then it's also funny because Bruce Willis shows up and they're like, we're going to start killing people if you don't solve this. And then they're like, yeah, his character is the one who has the knowledge to assemble the thing.
Right.
Let's let him do it instead of the person that we literally kidnapped for this purpose, who's an expert on the subject.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he does it wrong.
Yeah.
Intentionally.
Let's talk about the villains.
Yeah.
Of which
yeah.
there is, I
Many.
believe, 12
Yeah,
villains?
yeah. There's so many villains. In
I
this.
would argue that there's more if you start including the writers.
But I mean, yeah, you have the henchmen, the candy bars, who's like, they've all kind of got their own thing, but they're
So,
all not super
The
distinctive.
head of the CIA literally comes up to Bruce Willis's character and says, "I'm the reason you were in prison. I had a different face then."
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got that. Yeah, so we've got them. And
It's
he's
like,
got...
and then he starts describing his old persona, and then Bruce Willis's response is, "Hey, my chemistry teacher? What? Like, what the fuck?"
like you and so he's the CIA director, but he's also working with the main villains, and so the four candy bar thugs,
If that's
like, work
not a
with him.
testament to modern society, I don't know what is.
But yeah, and then we have these two, like, it wasn't clear for a while if they were like a married couple or brother and sister or something, but it's Richard E. Grant and Sandra Bernhard
It's
playing.
100% that they are a couple. They
Okay.
have like they have literally like they have flashes of their BDSM
Yeah,
that's fair.
activities on the slideshow.
Okay, I must have missed that, but like either way, they are just chomping on big old chunks of the scenery, and they are just absolutely going for it. And they are two actors who are very familiar and comfortable with going that big. And so, yeah, you already
big
have.
did they go?
That's already
And
what,
their
7?
butler, don't forget their
Oh,
butler.
their butler.
Their
Yeah, so that's like
butler.
8 main antagonists in this movie. Their butler, he's got like knife arms.
And that's after the 3 Italian guys like died.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's right. We even have the mob, the Mario Brothers. Yeah.
There's
one of
3
many
them.
Nintendo
One of
references
them
in this movie.
immediately gets fucking taken out of the movie,
Right.
with a wine bottle, and then and then it's like you start off like we're dealing with the mob, and then they do they die?
They die.
They all die. Yeah.
I literally couldn't remember because I cared so little about them. But then it's just like immediately move on to like now the CIA, and then after that it's like no, the rich people.
Oh, I'm forgetting. There was also twins. There was also those random
Yes.
twins that were
The
there.
twins.
Like, so they're throwing all of these villains at you, and then there's also like the whole church conspiracy thing, and we don't know if we can trust them or what's going on with
Yeah,
that.
and they're all
And then
they're all
Tommy might be a double
searching
agent.
for
and-
pieces of Leonardo da Vinci's Sorcerer's Stone.
Yeah.
which turns lead into gold, which he could have used at the time.
Sure.
Like if
If it worked then,
If
yeah.
it works then,
Yeah.
but some reason he's like, no, this is too much power. I've been actively searching for this, but I'm like, JK.
Well, he's the Gandalf of the movie.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. On top of all of this, like, globetrotting
Please explain.
intrigue-
Wait, no. Please explain what you mean by he's the Gandalf of the movie.
He understands that there are powers that can corrupt and are too much for an average man to wield.
Yeah.
And he's like, we have to do something about this.
I've just rolled my eyes so hard I physically caused myself pain.
Wow. Yeah.
I, as mentioned previously, I have continued watching more Lord of the Rings lore videos. So
And it should be mentioned too, all of the shit we're describing, this movie is barely over 90 minutes long. Okay.
It
is
is
cramming
packed.
so
It's
much into
an
it.
eternity.
it is.
But like it
is-
might be feeling like slow, but it is. There's a lot going on in a very
Well,
small
I'm
window,
very
so none of this
curious-
is given room.
Yeah, well, there's no breathing room. Like there's like hat on hat on hat on hat, as I mentioned earlier. But it's so funny because you're like, why isn't this is so bad? Why isn't it become entertaining? Like, why
Right.
isn't it like The Room? Why aren't we watching like cuts of this at our local cinema? Because it's
Not
so
enough Tommy
bad.
Wiseau, but
But it's like the movie is like it's just like it's so bad, but it's also like bad craftsmanship. Like there's
I would push back on that. I don't think it's like a terribly made movie. I think it looks pretty good. It looks expensive. It looks like it's trying to do what it's trying to do.
I think the bad craft is in the
storytelling.
storytelling and the way it was like the final cut of the movie. It's like there's stuff that could have been omitted, and we ended up with what we ended up with.
Focused.
Yeah.
They need every scene. Like there's classic screenwriting. When you write a scene, the scene should have a point. Like in this scene, like every scene has 18 points.
Yeah, and none
And
of it is really
sometimes it
substantial.
seems like some of the scenes, some of the shots exist only because somebody thought of a joke. and we're like, I want this gag in the movie.
Yeah, and the reversals. Almost everything happens like the second he gets something, it's taken away from him. He has so little agency in the movies. Like, he's not deciding to be a cat burglar because he's a badass motherfucker like Cary Grant in that Hitchcock film.
I would never describe Cary Grant as badass motherfucker.
Are you
Especially not
kidding?
in North by Northwest.
Oh my God.
The point of North by
No,
Northwest is that
I'm not talking about North by Northwest. I'm talking about the one where he's a cat burglar with.
Oh, you're talking about Charade.
Charade, yeah.
Yeah, but no, he's not a badass in that. He's
Oh my God,
smooth.
Cary Grant is such a badass.
No, he's like suave. There's a difference between being suave and cool and being a badass.
I disagree. I think being suave is very much being a badass. That's why James Bond exists.
No, badass is more like, I think of it as more like shirt ripping Arnold Schwarzenegger action hero.
No,
type.
you're
Like,
wrong. No. Like
All
that
right,
is
weigh
that
in,
is
people,
your
weigh
own.
in.
That is your own misogyny.
I will say,
Misogyny.
well, no, misandry. Oh, your own.
I think
anti-men.
I think I lay in the middle where I can see both to a degree. Of like, yeah, like one side badass is like, oh, I'm gonna
Being
do all these things.
badass
But then
is being
also,
competent.
Also, like, yes, there is also the level of badass that is like, one, you're cool, you're good at what you do, and you don't suck as a person. Mm-hmm. I think that's also pretty badass.
Sure.
Although I haven't seen this movie, so I can't weigh in on whether or not Cary Grant is a badass in it.
You know what the real badass is? Being a good person.
Honestly,
But my point is that he's a
Yeah.
cat burglar in a compelling movie that is good.
But yeah, you're correct in that, like, Cary Grant is more the template of what you want for a cat burglar character, right? You want somebody who can blend in. And Hudson Hawk is a guy, a brash New Jersey guy with like a big stupid looking hat, and he's always running his mouth. Like, this is not a suave character. This is not a smooth character. This one,
have we done a Cary Grant movie?
no.
I'm trying to place why. Like, I know
I can't imagine.
I talk about him a lot.
Yeah, probably.
and another friend of ours.
And I talk about you. I can't do
Also-
it. That was more Alec Guinness. I can't. I can't do a Cary Grant to save my life.
Did he do like a lot of like noir movies and stuff too?
He
Kinda,
did
he
a
did
lot of movies.
Okay.
A lot of Hitchcock.
A lot of comedies too. He's very funny.
Bringing Up Baby, Philadelphia
I feel like
Story.
Hannah might have introduced me to something.
Possibly. Either way, I think we should.
He is the pinnacle of manhood.
We should try to.
Well, he was.
Yeah.
Is
We should try and move on to the video games here because they're. I think we've.
we have
We've looped around.
I
fully.
think we can rag on this movie more.
But I just want to say, like, it kind
We
of.
didn't even mention the dog, other than when the dog got fucking obliterated.
Ball. Yeah. I mean, it's a very silly movie, and I think I find it fascinating just because I love a big fiasco. I love a big ego-driven fiasco, a big behind-the-scenes mess that kind of like is reflected on film. That kind of that's why I think you should always, like, if you care about movies, you should watch everything. You should watch Vertigo. You should watch Hudson Hawk. You should run the gamut here because all of them have something valuable to show you. And I think Hudson Hawk is a really good example of what happens when egos get too big, when vision gets too incoherent, and when you're trying too many big things with like good idea. Like, I think there are some good ideas in this movie. I think they threw them all in at once, and it just made this slurry. Like it's just kind of this weird mess of a movie. I find it fascinating. I find it a little endearing, but there also was a Nintendo adaptation that we should talk about. This is a movie that makes this movie makes like
should is strong.
4 different NES references in this movie, including like kind of the last line of the movie is "I will always play Nintendo with you," which I thought was pretty funny. So I'm wondering if that was all part of a tie-in with like knowing that this game was coming, but. Either way, the Hudson Hawk video game, it came out in 1991.
It's not even a 2-player game.
I like the idea of 1991. He just got out of prison. He doesn't know what a Nintendo is.
Yeah.
So he has to go to his local library to get an encyclopedia. Look up search under the N and look up Nintendo.
Right.
So to make these references.
But here's the question, right? What's the time span of this movie?
like a
couple
week.
days.
Yeah, maybe a week.
When did he have the time to figure out what the fuck a Nintendo was?
Like I said, that in that day, there's no Googling, so you have to go to a library and get an encyclopedia.
Maybe Tommy explained it to him on one of their flights. I don't know.
Was also kind of busy
remember
most
he
of
was
the movie.
he was put in a box for the flight.
Yeah, he was unconscious.
Well, maybe
for the
they
flight.
left a copy of Nintendo Power in the box with him, and he got to read through the how to
Is that where
get
my
past,
copies went?
Yeah,
this
exactly.
Was 91. I didn't have them yet.
You had nothing in
Didn't
1991.
Was Nintendo Power still?
Of course.
When did
Nintendo
I
Power-
can't say the word.
It started in
It's
the
so
late
hard.
80s. Yeah.
Okay.
Because that's kind of the height of Nintendo fever.
I'd like every issue that came out for over a decade.
But this is also-
which is wild because I wasn't even a Nintendo person.
So yeah, it's a great magazine. But this is kind of the era when if you had a summer blockbuster release, then obviously you were going to get a Nintendo game adaptation.
And obviously, the Nintendo game adaptation cost roughly $700 to make.
Yeah, definitely less time and effort went into putting this movie or this game together. This was developed by Special Effects Software, published by Sony ImageSoft. It was also released on the Amiga, the Atari ST, the Commodore 64, and there's a Game Boy version that we'll touch on a little bit as well. But this is a side-scrolling platformer. It takes place over the course of 3 medium-length levels, so it's not a terribly long game. You play as kind of a very cartoonish-looking rendition of Bruce Willis with a big, gigantic head, so I guess not that different. And you're running around on rooftops, getting thrown off of roofs by golden retriever
Wearing
or by Rottweilers.
sunglasses at night.
Wearing sunglasses at night because you're a cool guy.
Because it's easier to animate sunglasses than it is to do eyes.
Exactly. And look, this movie has 3 kind of built-in MacGuffins, and those are the 3 things that you're looking for in this game. You have the Sforza, which is the horse at the beginning. You have the Codex, and then you have the jewel that's actually going to power up like Da Vinci's
The
alchemy
crystal,
machine
I
or
think,
the crystal,
technically.
whatever it is. So you need to spend each level like hopping and bopping around and trying to steal those. There's no boss fights or anything. You don't really have a wide range of attacks. You have a baseball that you can throw like in an upward arc, which is very annoying, or you can throw a punch if somebody gets close enough to you, but it's very hit or miss.
We definitely didn't figure out how the fuck to do that. So.
And yeah, you're just supposed to like jump around these levels. Sometimes you have to stack boxes in order to access windows. Sometimes you have to disable switches or duck underneath lasers or things like that to try and evade guards. It's all kind of fun on paper. In execution, these controls are really they're simultaneously really slippery and really
They're
unresponsive.
terrible. Like you trying to throw the baseball, I would push the button 3 times,
Yeah.
and it's
We
would only
also-
throw once.
We also don't know it was a baseball, but it seemed
looked
like a baseball.
a CD or a baseball.
Yeah, it's a round something.
In either way, it is not something that is relevant to the movie at all.
No. I mean, yeah, you're
I think Steve posed the question of, does he even throw anything in this movie?
I don't know. But I mean, it's hard to animate using your wits to get out of a situation in a Nintendo game.
He used his wits. That's what he
He
was
uses
using.
wits. Yeah, his quick sarcasm, his New Jersey charm. It's a very I think that was kind of the problem I was having with it. I'm like, you know what? I could kind of get on board with like this sort of heisty sort of game where the emphasis is more on avoiding danger rather than trying to get into it. I think that's kind of fun for an NES game, but a big component of this game involves pushing boxes, and the boxes are like spring-loaded. Sometimes they will snap through walls and bounce back and like clip through you and knock you into an enemy's path, or
just go through you, and then you're like, "What the? The box needs to be over here."
if you walk into a box normally like you would in another video game, video games are rife with box pushing, right? It's just this
Honestly,
constant
yeah.
trope forever to this day. But the idea is that they have weight, they have some resistance. It takes you a little bit to get them into place. The crates in this thing are so insubstantial. If you bump into them, they go flying across the screen, and you have to go track them down. So that's a very annoying mechanic right off the bat.
Now I'm gonna ask some questions, some
Okay.
trivia here, because I have found the Wikipedia article. How many developers do we think developed this game?
I couldn't tell you. Back in the
7.
NES days, it was usually teams under 20.
Each version had one developer,
Okay, I can believe that
but there
too.
was 4 artists
Well, there you go.
and 1 composer. So technically 6. So J-Band was pretty good on that one.
Yeah.
Like 6 people per game. cheaper version. And I will say, it was colorful.
Yeah. I wish it didn't really. I don't think it had any music from the movie, although I couldn't really tell you. I don't think that score was
Definitely
terribly.
have no recollection
distinct.
of there even being music.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of music. It's just kind of indistinct. I did say we booted up the NES game, and it was kind of like frustrating. And then we booted up the Game Boy version. I found the Game Boy version a little easier to play.
Yeah, the Game Boy version was better.
It still had a lot of the same major design flaws, like the floaty boxes and all of that, but the animation was weirdly way better.
Significantly less color, which is mostly a platform
Significantly less color,
limitation.
and also the frame rate is really, really slow on that thing. But the animation is a little crisper. You can tell when
Yeah.
you're throwing a punch. You can tell you can jump on. Like it's more clear what you can walk on and what you can't. It always drove me nuts in old games like this, where like all the ledges look identical, but some of them you could step on and some of them you can't. So you're jumping and trying to get on all of these different things, and only once in a while will you land on one. I just didn't think this had anything that made it stand out, really, one way or the other. Like, I like that the very first enemy you encounter is just a dog who throws you off a roof, and then you just have to walk back into the building and you're fine. But it didn't really have the personality of the movie. It didn't really have the personality of its own. It's just J-Ben, you're famously averse to jumping in platforming games already. And I feel like the jumping in this was really touchy and really imprecise. Like, sometimes you could clear 2 boxes and sometimes you could barely hop onto a table, you know?
It was very poorly made.
Yeah, just kind of sloppy.
They made 13 games. They were a company for 4 years, apparently.
Oh, okay. Which company are you talking about?
The Special Effects Software
Okay.
Limited.
There we go.
None of them seemed... they made RoboCop 2
Okay.
on the Amiga and Atari ST.
All right.
I'm starting to notice that they're counting different versions of some games to be different games. This is
Okay.
less than
Sometimes that's true. Yeah. Sometimes sometimes different platforms are going to give you wildly different experiences.
Yes, that is true. It's stuff like The Untouchables.
Okay. We'll cover
Batman,
that one.
The Caped Crusader.
We'll cover a lot of these.
Cabal. Firefly, 1988, so I don't think related
Not
in
that
any way
one.
to
Yeah, not that
anything. Something called Guts, something called Hysteria.
Guts
called
was.
Recoil.
Do you remember Guts on Nickelodeon?
GUTZ.
Did you watch it? It was like a Double Dare style like game show where you get covered in slime.
This seems not related.
But we should move on because I think we've milked about as much as we can out of the Hudson Hawk NES game.
What time are we at?
We're at 55 minutes.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's not terrible.
So
Smooth, crisp.
let's move on to our rankings. That was not J-Ben just pissing on Mike. Dear Lord. Dear Lord. What are you even doing?
At least try. Be subtle.
Let's move on to our rankings. This is a good movie, good game, a bad movie, bad game, or some measure in
This
between.
has put us in a mood.
Clearly. Good movie, good game, bad movie, bad game, some measure in between. Where are you coming down at J-Ban?
Wait, hold on. I have another...
dude.
Sorry. I have another thing I want to do. I did this last time, and I don't think I'm going to do this every time, but just because it came up as I was trying to find this movie, what do we think, between you two, what do you think the Metacritic score was? Or the Rotten Tomatoes score?
15, 20?
23.
30.
Okay.
30%.
Like I said, again, it's like a lot of those reviews from the time were not logged, and I think some people who grew up with this as like a childhood movie like really defend it. I read a lot of articles like defending this movie.
I think if you watch
I'd
this
see
in a
quite a bit defending
child,
it,
you
too.
would have Stockholm Syndrome.
I feel like you'd be, I probably would have been very into this movie if I saw it at that impressionable age.
If it was one of your pivotal DVDs or VHSs that you had as a child.
Which is not impossible. Like, 1991 was kind of the year for our VHS collection. We had a lot of those.
Yeah, as I was doing my moderate research, my very light research, there was a lot of Reddit threads defending the movie.
Yeah.
But anyways, J-Ban, what is your rating of this scenario?
Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Sorry.
Wait, real quick, Justin, you want to interrupt again? No, real
I'm
quick.
good.
Okay.
I'm
okay.
good.
I think this is a terrible movie and a bad video game.
Okay. All right. Justin, where are you coming down?
I don't think there's a single way that I can differ unless I use a lot more words, in which case we're just back to shitting on the movie again. So it's a terrible movie. It's not a good game. Thank you, Steve, for making us do this.
Hey,
usually I'm
any
the
old
one
time.
triggering these types of movies.
Any
but-
old time. I was glad that we came up with this random role here. Yeah, I think it's a bad movie. It is a fascinatingly bad movie. It's a train wreck in kind of the best sense of the word. Like I said, I was not bored. And I was there were moments when this movie like approached endearing for me, and then they would kind of like undermine all of that goodwill. So it's not. I don't think I virulently hate it as much as you guys do, but I do agree that it's not a good movie and it doesn't work. And yeah, these games are messy. These games are really messy. I think there's some ideas that are here that are kind of fun, but I think they reached a point of like no longer giving a shit, where they didn't really try and refine any of these or really add anything on top of the basic premise. So it's a bad game.
What time of the month or the year did the movie release?
May. It was a May release. So these were like December.
These were December. These were after. Oh man, if this movie came out and I was partway through working on this game, I would have lost steam so fast.
There was a Super Nintendo port that was canceled after the movie flopped.
They were just like,
they were just like,
let's not
nope,
do that.
cut our losses. Well, thank you all for taking that journey with me. That journey to the good old Hudson Hawk.
Thanks.
Hey, I always love it when we could find one we haven't all seen. So it was.
And when we can be relatively unanimous on our feelings about the movie.
Yeah, exactly. And plus, I think we've had a long run of like really good movies, so it's fun to always like talk about some as well.
We saw too many good movies, guys. Sorry.
But next week we are going to be talking about a really fun one. If I were to tell you that we are talking about the most tumultuous, difficult production in the history of Disney animation, you may not immediately realize that I'm talking about The Emperor's New Groove, a very light, very fun 2000 animated film. I'm excited to be talking about that one. That was never one of like I think I was a little too old for that one when it came out, so it was never one in my rotation, but I've appreciated the few times I've seen that movie. So excited to get into it. We've got an awesome guest lined up for that one, so stay tuned next week. The Emperor is getting a brand new groove. All right, everybody. See you later.
Pull the lever, Kronk!